Welcome back to the stream, the Ish Show. That's still a working title, but it's fitting. How's everybody doing out there? Um, Everybody hear me okay? If you can't, just let me know in the chat. Um, Drew's on Black time, but he'll be here in a minute. So I was just going to go ahead and get started. Um, Happy Thanksgiving, huh? Happy Thanksgiving. I hope everybody's going to go have their turkey. Uh, we have some plans. I actually have two turkeys this year. We bought one from the store, and then I slaughtered one a little while back, and we're gonna make both of them. Uh, we're gonna see how that goes. One in the oven and one in the air fryer. So that should be fun. Um, there's a whole lot of weird stuff been going on, and Drew had some stuff that he wanted to talk about. So I'm just gonna babble a bit before he gets in here. JC, how are you, buddy? Um, Yeah, there's a whole lot of stuff that him and I were talking about that we're going to talk about today, and man, it just kind of I'm just kind of hoping that he shows up quickly here so that I don't get started and have to retouch on anything. Um, Hang on one second. Okay. Um, so anyway, I got Starlink for the house. So this is somewhat of an experiment as well. Like I turned off the other Wi-Fi, and we've only been running the Starlink for about 3 days now. And for whatever it's worth, it's working really good. But this is a test run. So if anybody sees any like blips or if anything's messed up as you're watching, just maybe if you can shout it out in the chat so I can kind of figure out what might be going on. But Starlink was running a um, deal, and residential, the whole kit, you can actually get sent to you for $22. You don't have to pay for the kit. It's like a rental. You can buy it later if you want to buy it. And the biggest plan was only a buck 20 a month. And I climbed myself up onto that roof. I actually put together a nice little setup. Um, Pipe coming down the wall. Also, what I'm going to do is I got an inverter. I'm going to put a small solar system on the outside wall, maybe 2 or 3 panels, and that little solar system will solely provide power for the Starlink, so that if we were to lose power in any way in the house, we could still keep the communications, the Wi-Fi up and running. Um, I have great plans for what I'd like to do as far as putting some more solar on my own, like my own house. In case you don't know, we have a property that has a building on it that's completely off grid, and we have another house where everybody stays as that's sort of in the building process. Um, but as time goes on, and I learn more and more and more about how applicable a lot of this stuff can be, um, it's actually pretty cool because I know I can make it work on the house now, which will be interesting. The electricity bills are all starting to go up for everybody. I know we've seen it a little bit, and the idea to slowly implement some of that on the house should really alleviate some uh, some of the bills, I guess. Um, I know there's probably some other people streaming tonight all at the same time. I know my phone keeps going off for notifications, so makes me wonder if anybody's going to actually show up and be in the comments. Um, yeah, I guess Drew on his Blatt time. Um, is anybody interested in the solar stuff? Is there anybody that would like to know more about, like how it works and things like that? Um, I know I touched on this a little bit last time, and some of you may or may not be aware, but I took off last week. I got really sick. Something put me down for like 2 days. Um, but the I say this as because it's the most recent thing in my mind, and I think it's kind of relevant. But like, I work for the power company out of Ohio, and the stuff I see on a daily basis that people are not aware of is mind-boggling. Like the services on the outside of their house, it's amazing what happens that people have no idea about. So I was at a place, and soon enough I have the phone actually linked. Um, there's a video of me when I showed up at this house, and mind you, the people weren't real happy that we had to do to repair because the power had to go out. But I had never I've seen a lot of really crazy stuff that probably shouldn't be working, but this one in particular, there is phases, 2 hots and a neutral in your residential service. And one of those phases, I don't know how this happens exactly. I've been told different things, but for some reason, when they're run underground, at some point, that wire, whether it's the ground settling or whatever, that wire can get yanked pretty hard. That wire got yanked so hard it cut through the side of a blade that's inside of there that separates the meter from the back of it. It kind of just holds the meter, cut right down, and it had a big chunk of metal taken out of the middle of it, and that wire was bare, just sitting right on the middle, with literally one small, tiny, tiny little piece to keep it working. And this should have blown up by all by all measures. Like there's no way that this thing should have continued to work. But not only did it continue to work, the people inside didn't know, and from the looks of it, it had probably been like this for bare minimum a year, but I would say a couple of years. The stamp on the inside said it was put in 1984. So sometime in between now and it could have happened right away. I have no idea. Um, let's bring Drew in. What's up, dude? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
We're live right now.
Okay. Better late to the party than never, right?
Yeah, it's called Black Time. You're on Black Time.
Yeah. For good reason. There was a
Yeah,
little
tell us what
fender
happened.
bender. What happened?
Yeah, tell us what happened.
There was a little fender bender outside the house. We heard the crash. I went outside and there was only one vehicle. Apparently, someone did a hit and run. The people in the vehicle who were struck was a mother and her child. The daughter, I think, was about 8 years old. She was a little shaken up, kind of crying a
Oh
little bit.
shit.
Yeah, so they were waiting for the ambulance to pull up. I brought them some water, and
Okay. All
I
right.
lost track of time
All right. Well, that's more than acceptable to be late. It's still Black Time, but it's more than acceptable.
with good cause. Yeah,
How do I sound to you? Is it clear?
clear.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Um, I have just been babbling along because that's what I do, I guess, now on Wednesdays. Um, I was slowly explaining about some of the stuff that I had seen today. So I can't remember how much it is I told you, but like right now we're running off of Starlink. So that's why I'm curious about how it sounds and how it looks and if it's coming through okay because if this works out, I'm probably just gonna stick with Starlink and dump the other Wi-Fi altogether. So it's sort of a test run. Um, but what my plan was is I actually set it up pretty nice outside. I put the Starlink on the roof. It's attached to the chimney. And if you have you ever know anything about Starlink?
Just from the conversations that I've had with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they give you it's just like a big white dish. It's probably like 18 inches by maybe 30 inches or something like that. It's not huge, it's not heavy. And I bought a stand for it and I put it up on the roof and ran it down the wall and some PVC pipe. It goes down into the basement, pops back up. I put the router in a spot where it made the most sense, right? But what I set it up for was so, and I just got the inverter in the mail today. I'm going to put it on its own little solar thing so that it runs independently. So that even if the power to the house went out temporarily, I would still be able to use the internet. We could still have a connection. And the reason why I'm doing it is because I already have most of the things to do it. I just needed like I have the batteries, I have a couple panels extra. I just needed this inverter. So I thought it would be a cool idea just to kind of isolate, the that setup, but I had to make sure it was working first. So this is sort of, the test run for it.
Yeah, you sound clear. The image looks clear, clearer than mine. I know you're using a computer. No,
Yeah.
you sound good. I could tell that the microphone is plugged in, the external mic, not the laptop mic. When you mentioned something about the PVC, that's just to run the cabling through,
Yeah,
correct?
conduit. The gray PV, it's actually called CPVC, but most people don't know it by that term. The gray stuff is for the electricians and the white stuff is for the plumbers.
Yes, sir. Yeah, so far
Um,
so good.
yeah, yeah. It's actually I'm planning on doing a video about it once I get the panels and everything up, but this is sort of the first step on whether or not we're going to keep it. And just to reiterate, like the reason why I actually did it was because they were basically giving them away. It was 20 bucks to get it shipped to my house. They give you the kit as like a rental. Like you don't make payments on it or anything, but if you want to keep it, you can buy it outright from them. And a buck 20 a month is their biggest plan. 400 or 4,000, I can't remember what it was. I'm not real hip on, but it's their biggest plan. It's like right next to a business plan for residential. So, so far so good. I haven't seen We've been doing all this stuff we've been doing before, and I haven't seen any changes as far as quality. Um, I actually did a test run that I made private when I first got it set up just to see how it went. That came through clear. But the thing is when it comes to stuff like that, this is just for anybody that cares, but when it comes to stuff like that, nobody else around here probably has Starlink or very few, right? A lot of people kind of get set in their ways, and satellite cable didn't exactly have a good name. It had its
Yeah.
issues. So when people start hearing about Starlink, they just probably don't want to even take the risk of, it being problematic. That being said, the reason why I'm bringing it up is because the um, 8 o'clock at night is, you're going to see a lot of traffic at that point, right? A lot of people are at home, they're on the internet, they're, streaming stuff on their TVs. So, like, if the whole block had Starlink, I might be a little worried about quality at certain times. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, I was one of my questions was going to ask you during the initial test you did, and like tonight, what else is going on in your house? Are there like three different TVs with all the Wi-Fi and the kids watching Nickelodeon or what? Like who's on the phone on the internet? Is there like other drawing sources like going on in the house at this time? Or
Yeah, and for the record, there's no Nickelodeon allowed in this house.
oh,
There's
okay,
no Disney allowed in this house. When they do watch TV, it's usually something like my son really got into Minecraft. And I watch all this stuff or I'll watch it with him the first time that I'm aware of it's something that's new. Um, but yeah, everything, like there's a TV in the living room, my wife's phone, the TV in my son's room, the TV in my room, um, and then all the phones, my wife's phone, my phone, they're all hooked up to it as well. So I'm actually pleasantly surprised at this point. I didn't really think that I'm still waiting for something to happen where it's like, okay, this is sort of the catch, right?
wait till the weather turns. If you get some like storms, rain, snow, that could potentially affect it.
So when you do this, I don't know if you have to, but I know I did. There's an app for Starlink. and on it, it's very in depth with data, more in depth than but it basically will tell you if there was an outage, and how long it was. So, like, if you have a hiccup, it will show it. Like, it'll say, maybe there was some kind of disruption or something like that. It'll show where it was, what time it was. It will show you a bunch of other stuff. Let me see if I can bring it up, but it'll show you a bunch of, like obviously your usage, whatever it is you were going to do.
So it's
Um,
almost like a real time diagnostics.
yeah, yeah. And that's, some people may not be into that, but for me, just taking a look at it, it's kind of cool just to see. It even shows, I don't know if this is going to come up. Can you see it
Is that
even shows the power draw.
yeah? It seems like
It's a little
like a
blurry. I can
waveformat showing you like the voltage spikes.
Yeah, and so that's I mean, the showing the wattage that's used, it says power draw 36 watts.
Mm,
So it's not super significant. You know what I mean? Which is
yeah,
actually kind of cool because then that just lends to the idea that if I were to, give it its own solar system with a couple of decent batteries, it'll be good all by itself.
yeah. I assume so. Especially you're not running a commercial business where you got a bunch of computers going all day, around the clock or anything. So yeah,
Even
the main
that, even that, like, because they have like these business plans. So, it's a new thing, but it's a cool thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's impressive so far. Because I also have one. It's a roaming one that I have at the property that I just sort of installed there to be permanent. But if I wanted to, I could take the dish off and put it in my car if we were going somewhere and drive, and you could get Wi-Fi like that.
nice.
Yeah, yeah. So, like I said, I mean, it's actually a pretty cool system. But I've been babbling on about this as like a time filler, and I just figured, what the hell? I mean, it is kind of interesting.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah, for
uh,
sure.
what did you see out there at the car wreck?
Actually, the car wasn't too bad. They were just more startled. It's dark out, low visibility. The person didn't stop. They kept going, apparently. The front driver's side headlight, the fog light, the glass is cracked. There's a little bit of glass on the ground. The bumper is kind of pushed in a little bit. It doesn't look like anything significant. I think she said she was going to call her brother or somebody to come pick up the car. She didn't feel safe driving it. She's a little shaken because the car pulled away, screeching tires, that kind of thing. It wasn't a devastating thing, but I guess it was just more of dealing with the child involved who was afraid and
You know what that reminds me of? When I first bought this house, maybe the first year I was here, there's down the street from here, it's like a park that's off into the woods, and it's actually pretty nice, but it has like waterfalls and like streams, and they built like these wooden bridges to kind of make it an easier path, so you're not like having to rock climb to get through it and stuff.
yeah, yeah,
And obviously, kids are going to go down there and party.
of
And
course.
this is if you're coming back to town, this is the road you're going to be using. And there was two younger dudes and two younger chicks, and I hear this wreck out front. And I mean, it was something that, like, when you hear that, hold on a second. Subliminal, what's up, buddy? How are you? When you hear that, it's sort of like, like how you just heard that wreck, right? Like, you don't really know what to expect, but it's probably going to be something kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Well, they were obviously high and drunk, but my neighbor is somewhat close to us, so he parks his car in front of his house, and they had to be doing I mean, conservatively, anywhere between 80 and 100 miles an hour
Wow.
down this road, and the speed limit's 25.
Yeah.
So, and so, like, when you actually get into like the street area, because it's rough back there where like the woods and stuff is, and it comes out to a nicer road. But they hit his car, right? So they're moving so fast, they smack his car, push his car probably 20 feet. out to the front of my house. I didn't have any vehicles out in the front at that time, and they rolled their car. They rolled it.
Going that kind
So
of speed, yeah.
it was on its roof when I went outside. So I walk outside my front door, and there's younger kids crawling out the fucking windows of this car. So I run over and I start pulling them out. And being young, being drunk, they're gonna feel that tomorrow, right?
Oh yeah.
They're not really feeling it right now. So this one kid looks at me and goes, "Sir, can you help me? Can you help me?" I said, "Dude, I think you need to sit down because the ambulance is coming." And he's like, "No, no, no. Can you just help me flip this car over so I can get out of here?" I
Yeah,
just looked at
okay.
him and was like, "Dude, go sit down over there."
Yeah.
Uh, they're
You
throwing,
definitely hit your
they're
head.
Yeah, they were throwing stuff like it was some kind of drugs. They're throwing stuff off in the weeds, trying to get rid of it because you can hear the sirens start to come. I'm like, dude, you guys are lucky you didn't kill anybody. The one
Yeah.
girl had her leg banged up, but I mean, if you see this car and it's like almost in your front yard, maybe 30 yards from your house, and it's over on its hood, and I mean, when if you I was in a car that flipped before. When that shit happens, all the fluids start going onto everything that's hot. And it's like, you could smell all the antifreeze and the oil burning. And it's like, okay, I hope there's no gas getting out of it right now either, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, so it just reminded me of that. And it was funny because the kid said to me, "Can you help me flip my car back over so I can leave?" Oh, come on, dude. Come
Yeah.
on. You go sit down. He actually ran away. The cops tracked him down pretty quickly, but he pretended to go sit down and just took off running. And I was like, I'm not
Uh,
chasing you, dude. I don't know what the fuck.
nah, it's not your job to chase. He was obviously inebriated and under the influence, and had a lot to answer for. Luckily, like you said, that kind of speed, that kind of crash, that could easily killed everybody in the vehicle. Could have died.
Honestly, if the neighbor's car wasn't there, he could have come right through the house.
And that's how fucking scary it is.
Um, well, you have something you want to talk about?
Uh, I looked today, and I was very curious. And I know me and you were kind of having a conversation over the last couple of days. So this is an interesting topic. I don't know where it's going to go or what's going to come of it. But
If
USA
it can tell you
carry
it's going to end with me saying be prepared. But go ahead.
possibly USA carry community. The DOJ is opening a new office to protect Second Amendment rights. This time within its Civil Rights Division, a major shift that could impact how local gun laws are enforced. Full details in the article. And then there's a picture of, try to see if I can show it here. This was just a couple hours ago. There's a picture of Pam Bondi shaking hands with somebody else with the
Jeez.
headline. I think it's December 4th. They're
Isn't
opening
that
this.
just the greatest encapsulation of government, right? Like you have a regulating body that nobody wants except for the government in the form of the ATF that goes after people for guns. And then you say we're going to like you could just get rid of them. Like that would be one way to protect everybody's rights. You could just be like, "Hey, the guys that are coming to your house to measure your barrel length or whatever, like maybe we just get rid of them." But no, 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 no. We're not only are we going to keep them, we're going to make another place that within a certain amount of time will end up being weaponized against the people as well.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even want to read too much into it. I'll tell you what, there was a lot of hilarious comments.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
One of them was just like, guess the DOJ is going to fight the DOJ. Because,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know, but, and then somebody else said, and again, these aren't my comments, these are comments I was just reading. The Second Amendment recognizes a pre political right to arms rooted in the natural right of self preservation. This right is not contingent on militia service, it belongs to the individual as a human being. Professor Eugene Volokh, or Voloky is, I guess, the quote who it's from. So there was a couple of you know comments of everybody's got something to say that I thought were interesting to read on this. And what is this person saying? Yeah, we already have the gun rights office. It's called the Constitution.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It's real
everybody,
simple.
what happened?
It's very simple, but I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
this is what happens when you get government involved in stuff. This convoluted way of we started with the supreme law of the land, which was the Constitution. Our rights were enshrined in the Constitution, and government is created to uh, take care of those rights, not to and like they don't give them out, right? Like the government's there to protect your rights because they're supposed to be. And I know this, we're way far. Meaty, what's up, brother? Um, we're way further down the line than the common sense that it was actually supposed to be. But I mean, the uh, the idea that we need another government agency to regulate the government agency that's already infringing on your rights, that circumvent the supreme law of the land that enshrines your rights, uh, is just isn't that a perfect example? Isn't that
Yeah,
a perfect example?
I mean, it's kind of it goes down to, and again, this is just a general statement, not even pertaining to this so much, but it's like a contradictory, like, okay, don't smoke cigarettes. Cigarettes are bad, and the person telling you to do that is smoking cigarettes and selling cigarettes, and it's like, okay, like there's what side of the line depends on what. It's almost like the message is dependent on what day it is, or how the sun rose that day. And it's, I mean, I'm just happy we're at a point in time where these conversations are even taking place, even though, like you said, we're kind of like a way off from being where it was intended to be. um I mean, still trying to be positive. We're in a space where even talking about this stuff 2 years ago, 5 years ago, was like, that's never going to even get close to it. So, I mean, I'm just
Question.
I'm just trying to
Meaty
take the two
Meaty brought
sides.
up a good point. You have all that DJ equipment in the background. Is there at any other point where there's something that we can hear that like would we have to hook it up to whatever you're using or
Well, yeah, it's not DJ equipment. It's professional recording, mixing, and mastering equipment. And yes, there's a way to do it where I could just play it over my speakers and have my device pick it up, which is not going to be high quality. But there should be a way to patch in so it's actually playing
we
as
should
part
do
of the
that.
video. That's something I want to look into. I'm,
Yeah,
I'm
we should
shut
do
down
that.
right now, but for the
Yeah,
moving
yeah.
forward
I
in the
mean,
future, absolutely.
not right this minute, but we should probably do that. We should
I could
probably
probably
see.
make like a beat that's like a themed kind of beat that you can play to open and close the show. Um, I just have to be in the now putting my mind to doing something like that. So
Yeah.
sure. And I have a
Yeah, I
bunch of
mean
I have
that
a bunch of beats I could send you that are already done that may even fit the purpose. If something you like that you hear tickles your fancy, we could always incorporate that, or I could do
I don't
something
have
from
many
scratch.
fancies that get tickled, but I
Okay.
can tell you what I hate. Uh Rap music.
Okay.
I actually like I used to enjoy it, but then like the more you learn about what it is and what it does and uh let me give you an example, right? Like if I listen to certain music, I get amped up, right? Like I'm sure everybody does.
Yeah.
Um is that a good thing from what you're listening to, right? Um so like if you are listening to, let's just say even this rap now is garbage, but some of the
Garbage.
stuff
Yeah.
from back in the day was okay-ish, but all the lyrics were always constantly about crime, right? So
Yeah.
I can't subject myself to that. I just feel like I'm getting too old for that shit. Um, but if we could make something that was not that, right? Um, maybe something that even had some excerpts of somebody saying something throughout it. You know what I mean? Like somebody that made some, I don't know. I have ideas in my head, but I don't want to say anything. But I mean, I think it might be a good idea to do something like that.
Yeah. I mean, listen,
It,
it's simple as putting a drum loop together, a light melody, and like you said, maybe sample a speech or somebody making some sort of statement. I mean, that's a whole nother conversation. There's a bunch of ways it could go. So yeah, I mean, sky's the limit.
Well, what you need like a laptop to patch into? Is that what it is?
I'm gonna look into it. It might be as simple as me sending you the file since you're kind of like running the hub and you incorporating it into the program
Okay.
that we're using. I really have to look into it. Again,
Okay.
uncharted territory.
Well, anyway, um, we were talking about, that stuff in New York. Did you hear about there was a just this is not even that old. It's maybe an hour old. There was two National Guardsmen that got shot dead in DC.
Yeah, and as I was turning the TV off to get into the shower, and this was on quoting Fox News, the gunman was an illegal alien. I don't know, don't if I'm misquoting,
Afghanistan.
if he was Pakistani, something that was brought in
Afghanistan.
Afghanistan, brought in under the Biden administration towards that whole whatever kind of program of letting illegals come in that he did, and then I just turned the TV off, and that's as far as I got. But yeah,
I mean,
I
isn't
did.
isn't that a great example of what we were just talking about as far as government, right? You put those guys couldn't have been armed, or else it would have went different. Uh, it's just crazy to me that like this is how much control that they would like to exert in so many so like you're going to put soldiers without arms as a deterrent on the street, and then after all this stuff that's been building up, you don't think it's necessary for them to have anything at all. They're a target. You know what I mean? Like they're out there in the wide open. Anybody that has a grudge or an axe to grind, those are the guys they see, right? They don't like Trump. They don't like what's going on with ICE. There's two unarmed guys sitting alone on the corner. That's crazy. The government didn't even arm all their own guys.
This was in D.C. This took place,
Yeah,
so their chief of police or their head of or whatever security they said they were National Guardsmen.
yeah.
Their superiors, for whatever reason, deemed them to be on active duty and unarmed. Seems like an extremely idiotic
So I looked it
way
up
of
just to
thinking.
because I
That's
thought to myself, how were they armed and got shot, right? So I looked it up real quick, and there's not a lot of them that are armed, and the ones that are armed are issued them just prior to the orders. They don't actually carry anything when they're deployed. There's like they even have this is crazy to me, but there's they have guys that work. It's called um, a beautification. I forget the wording, but the beautification. It's like they're there for like checks and balances, but they're not going to do anything, right? Like they're just don't act up. There's two soldiers over there, but they're not armed. So like I wish I should have probably wrote that down, but it's like beautification squad team something or other. I don't know. They're there for like to help or like if they see something, call for backup type of thing, but they're not armed. Um, it's just crazy to me to like. Do you have to? How are we having this conversation right now?
and
Like
they both of these officers died. Did
I
they?
know for sure one did, but I don't know about the other one.
Now, had management made a choice to put them out armed, there's a very good choice both of these men would have went home to their families tonight.
Apparently, and this is all developing. I don't really know, but this is just what I known from a few minutes of looking into it before I went on. But apparently, the guy walked right up to them, armed, and shot one, and then I guess attempted or did shoot, and maybe it wasn't fatal or fatal right away. I don't know, but you can see the one guy. It's kind of messed up, man. Like
No, that's seriously messed up. I mean, they're there to do a job that what
it
happened is a
requires guns. Like
yeah, or it means to defend yourself, which of course is going to be the equalizer. It's going to be the firearm. And how could they have not have issued them dealing with the public? Like it's just, I mean, me if I was an employee, if I was in the National Guard and they put me out to patrol without a firearm, I mean that would I'd have to put my foot down and say, well, if you're going to stick me like in some like middle, West Bubblefuck in a dirt road in some town where I'm not going to see anybody, I still don't feel comfortable with it. But you're going to put me in a city like DC or somewhere where
Well,
there's
here this is like the half measures that I have a problem with, and it's like this is sort of even for the Trump administration, like this is sort of they do half measures on everything. And this is just one of those half measures. It's like deploy the National Guard, but don't give them guns. Well, that's stupid. Oh, we don't want to see armed men on every corner because it'll scare people. Unarmed men in uniform that are targets is better. Like the half measures of like trying to meet people in between to, I guess, their feelings, they're upset. They're seeing guns and they're upset. So you're going to try to, you know, not upset them by getting men out there that can't protect themselves. And they are the target, right? Like when some they obviously, right? Look what just happened. If somebody's upset about what's happening, who do they look for? The first person that is the
re-
easy one, right? Like I
represents what
mean,
they think they're fighting
yeah,
against.
like
Yeah,
those guys in those uniforms encapsulate the bad guys for those people. And they're unarmed. So that's like easy pickings. And these bastards are crazy. Like if you hear the way that they talk, I mean, some of the people that share that opinion about the ICE raids, they look at it, they have no other way of seeing it other than that they're fighting evil. And so when you look at it from that position, uh, these people think they're fighting evil. What do you think they're going to do? Well, I mean, like, if you truly believed that you were fighting against evil, how would you act? Right? So, this is why you get this. And, like, to not understand that before you put them guys out there is just so stupid. It's the same thing, like, all the half measures. It's like, if you're going to deploy the National Guard, have them help ICE. Like, what's up with, like, you know, do that, right? Like, I mean, do what if you're going to uh what was the other oh, the Epstein files, right? The Epstein files. Like we got them. We released a couple pages. No, we don't got them. Oh, we have them, but we have to go through them to see what can be released. It's like, dude, does anybody really think that like this isn't some show? Like that it's just like pacify you from one thing to the next. You know what I'm saying? We're going to get rid of all the illegal immigrants. You need to get rid of like 50,000 a day. Okay, well here's 50. You know what I mean? Cuz that's basically like that. And when the numbers are there, they say there's like 20 million illegals running around. In order to get rid of that many in his time frame, they would have to go super hard. They don't have the manpower for it. So they can't do that. And then it went from deporting every illegal to another half measure was we're only going to deport the criminals. Well, guess what? They're all criminals. Like they illegally crossed a border. So half measures over and over and over and again. It's just you get sick of seeing it. You get sick of hearing it. And I'm telling you, these younger dudes that can't really find a decent job and don't think that they're going to be able to ever to be able to afford a house and like all the chicks out there are crazy. When they get to their limit, bad stuff's gonna happen.
definitely wild times we're living in, and we're not out of the woods by a long shot to the craziness we're going to see, unfortunately. Hopefully, the good outweighs the bad. It's never going to be perfect. It's always going to be a mess. There's always going to be some sort of show. Uh, but I mean, I feel as long as we're sailing in the right direction and there's room for improvement. At least if the conversation's open. I mean, I'm used to there not even being a conversation about it
So
without
do
me being
you do you think the United States stays together as one country after, let's just say, because I'm telling you my prediction is it's
fractured
going to
to a
break
bunch of
up.
different. I feel like eventually, I don't know what time frame. It may not be in our lifetime. There's a good chance it may be in our lifetime. Uh, that I could see at least some states
Yeah, right.
fracturing off and becoming independent. I mean, a couple. I know there's been a couple of states who've talked about it over the years when the ruling body government was not uh, cohesive to the people who live in those other states. And I feel like it's only a matter of time. It could be 10 years, it could be 15, 20 years, it could be 6 years.
I mean,
It could, it,
I would love to be wrong, dude. I would love to be
yeah,
wrong.
me too. I would love to be wrong.
But I mean, you can so here like so like pattern recognition is something that like I have it's almost a curse in a way because like this is the kind of stuff that I can see coming that other people either refuse or can't acknowledge, right? But like you can already see it happening. It just hasn't solidified, right? Think about all of the dark blue states that are already saying that they are not going to do this and they're not going to do that and they're going to have sanctuary cities and they're not going to let ICE do this and um, there's a lot of talk from them. So actions lead to things, right? They're acting like they're trying to separate themselves from the union because if they can't overrun the union as a whole, then they're gonna want to break off, right? Because I mean, you can already it's the fracturing. You can already see if you're looking a little bit ahead. That's not to
Yeah.
say that it's inevitable. Nothing's inevitable, really. But I mean, you just you can see it starting. You can see the rhetoric starting, and I'm I'm scrambling in my head to try to remember this, but there is an actual plan, the Podesta plan. That's what it is. John Podesta, back when Hillary Clinton lost, they had a plan to if she didn't win, because they had no like after she didn't win, they were like they short circuited. They had no idea this was coming. They were all banking on the fact that he was going to get 1%, 2% of this vote, right? This is how far off in the weeds they are. They have no idea about the average person. But the Podesta plan called for um, there's a thing that they wanted to call themselves called the Western Alliance. Like, you can look this up. So what the Western Alliance would do would be they would separate from the Union. And they would do that with rhetoric by getting people that are already sort of on their side to start arguing. Now listen, because you're gonna have heard this over healthcare and immigration. So they want to use those two topics to be the real striking point, to be the real thing that pushes people into picking sides. And they're going to call themselves the Western Alliance. So if you in any point in the near future happen to see that name come up, that's where it comes from. Now, whether or not it takes another form, that's something else. But I mean, it's a real thing. It is. It's a real thing. You can look at it like you could Google Podesta plan right now, and it'll lay out what I just said and a lot more.
You
Um,
know, there's always been in the back of my mind, especially how seeing how certain states are so ridiculous and far over the cliff, with just how their way of life is and their belief systems, and places like California, and New York,
Second, look, this is an excellent point about what I mean.
Minnesota. I was
Minnesota's
just about to say Minnesota.
yeah, it's little Somalia, dude. Like there, it's all the Minnesota's gone, right?
I,
Like I
I
mean,
would I would say part of me would be happy to see, like, okay, because if you want to live in a place where you want to live the kind of way your life, your beliefs, your family values, your freedoms, your religions, your whatever it is, to have to compete with people who are neighboring in your same vicinity who live under the same flag of the state you live in,
change
and
the
you
flag.
and you have this like combative thing. You know what? Let all of these people keep these states. If I could just like wave a magic wand and say, okay, let's put all these people, you want to call them liberals or whatever, or like the far left people, let them have New York, California, let them have all the people they want and their supporters that keep them in, and all the I'll call them normal people, and let them go into the other states. And when they burn themselves down, because they're going to burn themselves down, like it's going to be a total shit show. We're insulated from having to deal with the repercussions of their bullshit. But then again, that's fantasy. That's not how it's going to work. But
Yeah, yeah. It would be great, I guess, in a way, for it to turn out that way without violence. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Uh,
um,
I mean, again, my whole channel, my whole, I think the last 12 years of my life has been because I can see the madness rising and no one else wants to really acknowledge it. And I keep saying, find a way to insulate yourself, like on some small level, like whatever that may be for you. I don't know what that, like on an individual scale, like what that might look like, but like, food is a big thing, energy is a big thing, right? Um, I could go on and on, but I mean, like, I don't want it to turn into fucking the
you know, prep,
apocalypse fucking show. But I
yeah,
mean,
prepper
the point
conspiracy.
is
So
that you have to start at some point, like to realize that this is starting and there's plans in place to make it happen. And it's not about if, but kind of when it actually goes down. Because they had this plan in place, and I'm sure they wanted to implement just the Podesta plan, for an example, um, way earlier than now, right? But we're at this point where like you're seeing their game plan come to fruition as we talk, and it's very slow moving, but it goes from slow to fast real quick. Like, let's just say shooting National Guardsmen, for example, right? Like, like it can happen that quick. And also, whenever, if, like, quote unquote civil strife, civil war, whatever you might want to call it, it's like there will be huge sections of the country that's completely untouched. You know what I mean? But it's just a matter of where. Like, where are you? Where is that?
yeah,
Right?
I mean,
So,
safe to say the big cities, especially the blue cities, are not where you want to be. Um,
I mean, that's the tough one too, because if you think about it, actually, they'll there's a chance that they might begin to eat each other, right?
well, that's why I
Because
say
they do it
let them
now.
burn themselves down. They get all their voters they want. They get all the corruption they want. All the knots. Everybody doing everything unchecked with clashes of different lifestyles. Like I got a lot of friends in New York who have this like we're not changing, we're not moving, we're not giving up, especially after the recent mayoral election. And I believe in that. Like listen, I believe in that. Don't roll over. Like fight for trying to change places like New York into what it should be. But at the same time, I'm also realistic, and I'm like I'm more than happy to let this go. Y'all can have this. Drown yourselves in the chaos that you want to create, and I hope by then I'm somewhere in a more peaceful place. I don't even care where it is. It could be Florida, Texas, Tennessee, the list goes on and on, but somewhere where I'm not going to have this feeling like I'm the minority. And just in my belief system, in my way of life, how I want to raise my family, and I grew up
Pick
here.
a
So,
fight. You got to pick a fight you can win. And while I understand wanting to put up the fight from some people that live in New York. This is my home. I don't want to leave. Right? I get it. Stay and deal with it. I get it. But like I can't see how you eventually, because I hate to talk it up, but it's like, wouldn't that eventually mean that you were going to be a victim of something if you stayed, right? Like, or if you're gonna fight and you're the odd man out, you're the minority, right? Um, that means that you're gonna have to go up against something that you may not be prepared for. Um, and that's why, like, I don't like the idea of like cut and run either. But when I grew up in the city, and at one point I was just like I felt like I didn't belong there anymore. It was like you looked around and it was just like, I mean, between the crime and
the
the
gentrification,
garbage
yeah,
and just like the people that like, like half of them don't look crazy and they're crazy, and the other half are crazy and look crazy, and you have to deal with all of them. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, and it's almost like you're living in a completely different realm, but you just happen to share space with them. You know what I mean?
the
Like
Twilight Zone.
the
You're
most basic
describing what I've been dealing with.
fundamental shit is like
Yeah.
it's they think like for example, uh years ago there was a bicyclist, and I really can't stand most bicyclists because they have an attitude. They think they own the road. They'll jump. It drives me nuts. They'll jump in and out of traffic, on the sidewalk, off the sidewalk. They don't stop at stop signs, but they want you to obey whatever rules they put in place for these assholes being on the road, right? Whatever that is. I'm not even sure what it is. I think it's space, distance, or whatever, but they don't follow a single rule. Anyway, the before I really didn't like them, there was a dude. It was nighttime. I was going to get gas. Uh, I think I was about to go pick up my girlfriend at the time, or I don't remember, but I was going to get gas and it was nighttime. And I drove past this bicyclist blocks away. And they have like their own lane. Like you're not even close. But uh, I went past them. I pulled into the parking lot. And as I'm getting out of my truck and I go to walk in, mind you, this is Pittsburgh in the neighborhood I grew up in. So, like, that particular spot I have fought in, no joke, at least a dozen times. Like, just in that parking lot. Like, this is where I grew up and I grew up fighting like a lot. So, like, it's sort of like not the whole thing kind of played out crazy, but like, anyway, that I go up, I'm going to get gas, and I can hear somebody screaming at me, and I look down, and it's someone on a bike, and he's straddling the bike and walking, right, like one foot on each side, and walking towards me. And I mean, he's calling me all kinds of names, and but I can't, I can hear him, but I can't hear him, right, because as he's getting closer. So then finally, I'm like, what do you want? And he's like, you went around me in traffic. And I was like, are you serious? He's like, yeah. And then he starts trying to tell me shit. I'm like, listen, I don't care. And if you don't get away from me, I'm going to knock you out. Now, I mean, I said other words, but I'm trying to keep it a little, I'm not trying to swear too much. Anyway, I gave him fair warning. And this dude, you know, I'm 6'4". I mean, I'm not the biggest guy in the world, but like this guy might have been 5'10" at best. And he had no size to him. He's a bicyclist. You know how they look. And after me telling him this, he gets closer and goes to get off of the bike. And it was pure instinct. I didn't know. I was already mad. I already told him to walk away. Anyway, I clock him one time. This dude went to sleep, like straight to sleep, and folded up in the bicycle. As you can imagine, if you were straddling a bike and you went straight down, how that would look. Well, like I thought he might have been dead because he wasn't moving. I didn't know I just hurried up and ran. I got my truck and I bailed. Well, I got a call from detectives from the city a few days later. They left me a voicemail and I called him back. And he's like, were you in an altercation? And I was like, I can't tell you that. And he's like, well, listen, here's the thing. We got your license plate from the video surveillance at the gas station. So we know it was you. We know it was your truck. And we also know what happened. We've seen them. We've seen everything go down. There wasn't audio, but there was video. So um, what happened is they were like on my side, but you can't just knock people out on camera. They had an ambulance there. Like that's how it ended up like being a thing. Like he was folded up, I guess, laying there for a while, and whenever he finally did wake up, the ambulance took him to the hospital. Uh, this is the mindset of these bicyclists, and it's also the mindset that is shared by these others that we're talking about, right? Where it's like this entitlement and like I can say and do whatever I want uh, without any real repercussions. And I'm like, I don't think you know what you're doing. You know what I mean? Like, because
No, yeah,
you're, like there's some stages that tend to happen before you get in a physical altercation, and um, you can't do all of those things and expect not to fight, but some of these people do. They expect to be able to push, shove, call you names, do whatever they want,
spit in
threaten
your
you.
face, spit, all that other.
And this is what I mean about like living in two different realities, because it's like that's just one small microcosm of these people where it's like, they I don't know where, like, again, I know I grew up kind of rough, but like I don't know how you didn't think that that was going to happen. I don't, you know what I'm saying? Like, is
They
it?
somehow made it that far in life without coming across anybody who taught them how reality can play out. They must have been went to a school where they were bullying people and nobody stood up to them, or always had somebody that came and fought their fights. There has to be some type of reason. There are the small collection of people who are just mentally ill and will get beat up time and time again for instigating fights, being a bully, sticking their nose where they shouldn't, and they just keep getting into the same situations because their brain doesn't work right. But the majority of the people, I think, who do that and have that behavior have just never faced equal opposition. And the story you just told, 3, 4 years ago, I'm in Manhattan, Broadway, 25th Street, super busy, lots of money, police everywhere, cameras everywhere, middle of the day. And I'm driving to a studio, and this is a big intersection. There's like 4 lanes, two going eastbound, two going westbound. And in front of me, it's the summer, bicyclists are out. Now there's a bike lane all the way to the right, right off of the curb, which all the cars are parked and blocking. So I'm in the left lane. Now to the left of me are the two solid yellow lines that you can't cross. And now that's on the other side is oncoming traffic. There's a bicyclist. I'm coming up the street, going up towards 26th Street. The bicyclist is in the car lane right in front of me, blocking traffic going to the light, like they're going to wait at the light on the bike when they should be in the bike lane. It wasn't an electric bike, it didn't have a motor. They're on a pedal bike, and they are in the left lane in traffic where only cars belong. Like you said, these people don't even follow the rules of where they're supposed to be with the bike. So I don't get close. I'm not tailgating to where I'm putting the bicyclist in danger, but like, I'm maybe a car length to a half a car length because now I'm getting like, you're getting me caught at all these lights. You don't belong here. I honked the horn once. I'm not riding the horn. I'm not being aggressive with the horn. It was just kind of to let them know, hey, there's a car behind you in case you didn't know, because I was watching them for 2 blocks. They had no situational awareness. They were just in their zone with their earbuds in the middle of traffic. We got to a light. The person pulls over on top of the yellow lanes, and I pull up to the light. Now they're right by my window. I'm going to go out on a limb and say this woman, and I'm taking a guess that it was actually a woman. I can't swear to it. Um, the aggression, like all the piercings, like all the kind of crazy stuff. And again, not to judge anybody. I have friends who,
Oh, I'm
bikers
judging.
tattooed, piercings all
No,
over. So I'm not trying
no,
to.
I'm judging.
Yeah, you know what kind of person I'm describing.
Yeah.
And they're through the window on the bike, far cursing, like the aggression, like I did something wrong. And they own the street, and like their name was tattooed into the ground. And I was in the bike lane. I was like, it was kind of like I was dumbfounded to see the level of aggression and the anger and the cursing. And I'm looking at this person, and I'm kind of like, the windows open. I could kind of hear what they're saying. There's trucks going by. It's just so loud in that area of the city at that moment that I'm just contemplating in my mind, and I'm remaining calm. I've had to over the years develop a high amount of self control. Otherwise, I would be in a fight and an altercation with somebody who looked at me stupid or said something literally every 2 blocks. There's no way around it. So I'm just looking in awe, and I'm like scratching my chin, and I'm like, this person has no clue that if they did this and behaved like this to a different person other than me, or maybe me when I was in my early 20s, and the repercussions for behaving this way and being this violently aggressive when I did nothing, the driver legitimately did nothing wrong. Like, what world are they in where there's no consequences for behaving like that? Even if the person was wrong, you cursing somebody out and mother effer and all this crazy stuff, foaming at the mouth with aggression. Like, do you realize somebody will get out of this car
So this
with
is
all?
my point about, yeah, I mean, because this is again, like where the people that feel that way is just one small microcosm of what we would be up against and how they rationalize doing what they're doing. Like, just to
That's
end
what we
it,
are up against. That's why this country is where it is,
yeah,
because of
yeah.
people like that. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, I mean, nope. Again, like, I'm not advocating for anybody to do anything at all, but
of
there's a
course not.
lack of people that haven't been punched in the face for saying something wrong to the level that we're dealing with hundreds of millions of them now. Like, that is how they went through life, saying and doing whatever to other people without earning any of those old school
Consequences.
consequences, because you can tell when somebody's learned that lesson because they don't do that. That's the point, right? But I mean, so just to just to I feel like I need to put this point in there just to really hammer home the guy that I'm talking about. But he said he was yelling at the DA and the police when I went to the magistrate for this, because I didn't go to jail. So do you see where, like, so the mindset of this person all the way around, right?
Yeah,
This is a
that
shared
privilege,
mindset.
the
Yeah,
privileged mindset. The world
yeah,
revolves around me. I'm always right. Nobody else is wrong. No accountability. Yeah,
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 yeah. So I mean, like, however, incapable of changing their mind with new information or with a different perspective, right? Uh, the I guess the easiest way to put it is that, like, they view the world so differently than what I would consider to be a rational person, uh, that it's like you're dealing with a crazy person that you're sharing space with from a different reality, right? Because, like, they're seeing and hearing the same thing as you, but their interpretation is so different of what you're seeing and hearing that it's like you live in different places. You know what I
absolutely.
mean?
Yeah,
So, like, now they're
yeah.
out, like, taking advantage of unarmed National Guardsmen, which, like, if you know anything about National Guardsmen, like, they're a lot of them are sort of patriotic. Most of them are young. It's sort of like a stepping stone for a lot of younger dudes into something else, right? They're not there to fight. They don't want to fight like that. Like, I'm sure if they were called up and sent overseas, they would fight. But I mean, it's just, I mean, again, you almost have to think, when is it time for somebody to step up and punch them in the face? Like, all these half measures of doing some of these things that, like, get nowhere, right? Like, I mean, it's not doing anything. It's not what's happening right now is sort of like, it's like you're being sold a dream. And I always go back to this, but, like, it's a show. Like, the powers that be are putting on a show while they rob you. They're building AI data centers everywhere. And those centers are taking up resources from the small townships that they're going in, electricity, water, everything, right? Um, Nobody wants to admit that they're being put in. Well, why are they being put in? Well, in my opinion, like, it's the AI surveillance state that's being implemented, because what else could it be? Uh, there's no, and while they're doing that, they're getting you to watch what? You know, the blue-haired people freaking out about immigration, soldiers getting shot, Epstein files, all this other stuff. But, like, you're not. The money is worthless because of what they do. It's worthless. Just because we can. The only reason the American dollar has any value at all is because of the military. The military is the only reason. They force other countries throughout the world to buy and sell with the dollar under the threat that we will come in and we will eject you from the country that you run. When we've seen this time and time again. Gaddafi wanted to make his own money. He had all this gold stacked up. He wanted to make his own money. He died horribly, right? And so, like, what I'm trying to get at is, like, I could go on and on about this particular thing, about how fake the actual money is. Like, I mean, it doesn't really exist anywhere, if that makes any sense. Like, there's they always talk about the debt. Who owns the debt? Who are they indebted to? Who are we indebted to? Right? So the Federal Reserve has nothing to do, obviously, if any, I'm sure most people know this, but just to put a point, it's not a federal entity. It's not even, it has nothing to actually do with any government entity at all. They don't work for the government. They're not part of the government. It's monetary policy dictated by people that in 1913 on Jekyll Island came together, a bunch of billionaires. I believe it's 13 different families, and they passed the Federal Reserve Act on Christmas Eve, and they found some loophole where they got it pushed through while everybody was gone. And then they hurried up and ran and they put it on the president's desk, which was their man, and he signed it. That's how we got to this point with the Federal Reserve. That's where it started. There's a group of people that own the Federal Reserve. They own stocks in the Federal Reserve. And guess what? Nobody's allowed to know who they are.
Well, I don't.
Nobody's allowed to know who owns the stock of the Federal Reserve. Nobody. Now, they made the Federal Reserve Act. This is why people they talk about the debt. We got to take down the debt. Let me explain to you why you can't take down the debt. So, every time they print money for the United States government, there's a debt attached to it. You can't print money and get rid of the debt because every time you print it, there's a debt that it can never be repaid.
You're
What's
creating more
happening
debt.
is what's happening is that this nation is being sucked dry. It's being sucked dry by through its labor and through they're using our men and women in the military to enforce the idea that this fiat currency has value. It's the only reason that it exists. The people that run the federal government are all the same ones that actually give money to the politicians. And here, the craziest part is if you're paying attention, BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, they're all these giant entities that are shell corporations of guess who? The same people that own the Federal Reserve. So what they're doing is that the Federal Reserve is printing money and giving it for free to BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street. They're using that money to go buy houses.
That they don't even. They're not even printing real money to buy.
We so like all of us are on the hook for this debt, and it's the fact that people don't have any inkling about this is why we are here. But like people sell their souls for money, and it's not real. The only reason it's real is because people have a belief that it's real. They have a belief that they can buy and trade with it, but it has no actual value. And the only reason it does is because the people that are at the top are using the military force funded by dollars that they print out of nowhere with a debt attached to it that can never be repaid. That can't go on forever. They are using that as a way to cudgel all of the other countries that can't win a war against us. You're not allowed to use your currency. You have to use the dollar. It's called SWIFT. It's like the wireless banking app for buying and trading for governments. But if they were, let's just say it's a yen, like a Chinese money, or anywhere in the world, they have to take it and put it into SWIFT at an exchange. They're not allowed to use their money. It's the whole reason, and they have to use dollars, right? And again, all of these dollars never existed before, and all have debt attached to them. So from the second you print one is the second you have debt that can never be repaid because you can't. They make it. You
Yeah.
can't make more than they make. So how would you ever repay it?
I always found it interesting as I was growing up and like in the 90s and early 2000s, all of the nations that we've went to war for or we were involved in a war against, or like the Middle Eastern countries, none of those nations used the Federal Reserve. They all wanted to be independent from it, and we always seem to have conflict with those nations. So I always found that interesting. Like, okay, there's probably some sort of connection to them not wanting to be part of this Federal Reserve, this global entity of currency, and being an independent. I mean, I don't believe in coincidence that much to not say that has something to do with it on a real level. Uh,
So you can see the pattern as well. Like when people try to step away from using the dollar, war starts. Now, people with the Ukraine war have different beliefs. But do you remember the pipeline they blew up? That they said Russia blew up their own pipeline? This is how stupid they think everybody is, and people actually
Vaguely.
believed it. There was an natural gas pipeline in the ocean. And it was Russia owned it, and it was going to Europe. And if they finished that pipeline, they could start stepping away from the dollar. They could start to use their own currencies to buy and sell because the United States wouldn't be involved. Well, war kicks off, and then this pipeline gets blown up. And they blamed it on Russia, and people believed it. They said Russia blew up its own pipeline. The only thing that would give it any form of any resemblance of freedom from the dollar, right? Like they blew that up, right? That's it's just crazy. And then even Syria, same thing, same thing. They were trying to not be involved with the dollar. The all of the Middle East. Let's just so like you know how Saudi got so rich. Do you know
Uh,
how to you know who the first Saudi prince was?
I mean, I don't believe it was through oil because we didn't have the need for oil back then that we did in more modern times. But
First Saudi prince was an intelligence officer for Britain.
did not know that.
They had nothing to do with the Saudis. They were they might have been from there or looked like they were from there, but they just installed them. And now Saudi Arabia is used just like the same way that Israel was being used for a long time as like this vassal state that they can go and do things from. And so Saudi Arabia, like, you know, Kuwait's such a small country, it doesn't even really count. But like they anytime somebody tries to step away from using the dollar, war kicks off every single time.
Yeah,
They will not allow it. But the craziest, like I said, the craziest part is that this is my perspective is that people will sell their soul for this without understanding even a little bit about what the money actually even is. Like they have no idea what the money actually is. They just look at it and go, "That's money that has value, and I will trade everything for it." When it's really it's a fallacy, man. Like there's no value there. The only value is that people are afraid to die for not using it.
yeah. I mean, I feel like it's very important, and I wish more people saw it for what it was, even in the sense of morally. Like, yeah, okay, we needed to survive. We're unfortunately part of the system where if you want to go to the store right now and get groceries or put gas in your car, you need to have it, but not let it control you in the sense where you're selling your soul or you're willing to degrade your moral value for it. You know, at least kind of come down a little bit more to earth with their perspective. I feel like we would just be a lot better off.
Here's
You
the
know,
idea. Be in the world, not of it, and give Caesar his Caesars, right? Those are two different quotes, but that when you when you worship money, you know, like the nothing even if you got what you wanted, all the money, it's not going to make you happy. But what we can do is understand the system that we're in and use it like what I'm trying to do. So I'm participating in this system in right now in order to acquire assets that I can use that will help me insulate myself from being dependent on that beef system, right?
yeah,
So like, you know, the most important thing is to not have debt. That's easier said than done, but debt is how they get you. The whole thing is debt. Like I just got done explaining how there's debt tied to everything. But if you're indebted, then you don't have choice. You can't like it might not be every choice that's made for you, but there's certain things that you can't not choose. Like you I have to go to work because I have to pay my mortgage, right? Like
yeah,
you can't say like if you find a way to get some assets that can generate some of that wealth and like what my objective is to start is to get the farm self-sustaining so that I don't have to come out of my own pocket in order to keep it going, right? Like if you sell chicken eggs, does it buy feed for everybody? If you have a harvest or you know you have a bumper crop, how much stuff doesn't have to come out of your pocket in order to keep it going, right? And we're doing pretty good. The winter months are tougher because you know there's not a lot of stuff, but like it's slowly coming together like that. And then the other thing is to think, right? Like think, how do they get you to attach to the system? One of the ways that they try to get you to attach to the system is that when your home has utilities, it can be taxed as a house. If your home doesn't have utilities, then it can't be taxed as a house. Now, there's different codes for different jurisdictions, and there's certain cities where they just simply won't let you live there if it doesn't have utilities. But if you were to do something that could separate you from the utilities where you were allowed to do it, then my building is completely independent, right? And like once we get like it's this is down the road, but like once I can get a well dug, right now we use rain collection and we filter it and we clean it. We don't use it for drinking, but we use it for everything else, and there's nothing wrong with that because you can actually do a pretty good job if you know what you're doing to keep that water clean enough.
Yeah,
But you get a well, you also are drinking. There's minerals in that water, and there's not fluoride, right?
yeah,
And there's not dissolved solids, which, if you can imagine what a dissolved solid is, that's a bad thing, right? Because sewage, right? Dissolved solids, right? So, like,
yeah,
this is the system that we have allowed ourselves to attach to that is not good for us in body or spirit. It's just not. There's
no,
no good that comes from being so dependent on it, especially whenever you see how it's ran. Like, they don't care about you, right? The food is poison.
yeah. There was I forget what states or what counties or what cities, and it may have changed, but over the last couple of years, I remember hearing several times that even collecting rainwater was
Yeah.
unlawful in certain
Yeah.
places. But meanwhile, when they do tests of the municipal water supply in that area, antibiotics, microplastics, all kinds of crazy things are showing up in the water. Obviously, fluoride. So it's like, well, it's illegal for me to collect my own water, but the water I am allowed to use has all these toxins. Why not whoever's allowing these toxins or whatever's causing this? Why not focus on that? Why make it a crime
Because
for me to
because
collect
they want you
rainwater?
because they don't care about you, and they'd be
E-
happier if you were dead.
Exactly.
Um,
Yeah.
but I mean, freedom is dangerous, right? Sometimes you just don't ask permission to do certain things. Now, where I'm at, it doesn't matter. But I mean, you could put a come and take it flag over your ring collection bin. You
I'm
know what I
sure there's
mean?
plenty out
But
there.
I'm just saying, like, these are, and there's, we have a nice spring on the very end of my property that for when I first bought it, I didn't know it was there. And I've tested it multiple times. And then I talked to some of the old heads that said that there used to be a baseball field up there long before they put these roads in, and that they used to drink out of that spring. And I plan on making that an asset as well. Like, I mean, I have once I can get things really moving, I want to get a skid steer, like an old used skid steer, and try to start digging like multiple ponds, if that makes sense. So one it be at this level, and then it'll drop down as it goes back towards the house. So like I wanted to get it to start up here. This one fills up, and then it comes down a grade, like through a stream to another one, and then that one fills up, right? And I had a guy come, and this is a legit thing. They can look for water with the sticks. You ever see that?
No.
They, when these old heads know what they're doing, and people think it's some like bullshit, but it's not. Um, they use iron rods, and they're two L-shaped rods. Typically they're real long, and then you hold it by the other end of the L shape, which is really usually short. You just hold it out in front of you, right? And it's like a meter. So when you're walking and you go to walk over water, they do this with water lines that are buried underground. Okay. Like as soon as you cross the water, those rods will cross each other. And if you really know what you're doing, depending on where it crosses, it'll tell you how deep it is.
That's very interesting. I
Um,
really, I really admire a lot of those old ways, and like people who've been around a long time and who are more so used to living off the land and like doing things themselves. There's a lot of knowledge to be gained a lot of times. So yeah, I mean
way
that's
more
extremely
stuff,
valuable.
dude. I'm
That's
telling you.
amazing that there's still those type of people around. Obviously, I don't know any in New York.
I mean, here's
That's
what I'm
not going to
saying, dude.
happen.
There is so much
But
that
yeah,
we
man,
don't
that's
know.
you learn things you would have never thought of to look into.
Right. There is so much that we don't know.
I lost your audio.
You can't hear me? Hello? How about now? Can you hear me now? You still can't hear me? Nothing? You sure it's not yours? Hugh, can you hear me? Is it mine or yours? Um, well, I'm just going to say it whether he can hear me or not. But uh, okay, good. Well, they can hear me, I guess. Um, we're actually getting close to wrapping it up anyway. But my point of that is like I began to explain that we with water too, we're going to be trying to get a well. So wells are very expensive, and I was explaining those diodes because I had a guy come out and say, I had a guy come out with, okay, I had a guy come out and say, I'm sorry, guys, um, that, so there was a guy that came out with the diodes and he found and marked where the water was supposed to be, told me how deep it was. And then there was another guy that came out with the actual technology, and he found less spots, but the spots that he found were in the same spots relatively to where this other guy with the old tech was. So me saying all that is because there's so much that most people don't know about much of anything. What is money? How does it work? Where did it come from? Also, like what do we know about nature? Well, how can we use nature? How can we test water? How do we know what plants are? How do we know what different plants are? Um, there's a plant called a sorry, the name's escaping me, but there's poison ivy that grows out in the wild, and typically somewhere near there, there's another plant that if you were to get the poison ivy on you and you go and grab that plant, that you rub it where the oil is from the poison ivy and it will negate it. See, this is the type of information that we don't know. We would run to the system to go to a store to get something because we realized that we just grabbed poison ivy or rubbed up against a leaf or something like that. Um, there's so much of that that it's hard for me to explain it all. And maybe as time goes on, as I learn more too, I'll be able to say more and more. But the point being is that to understand that there we are engrossed in a system so deeply for generations that we can't escape it easily. And the only way to get out of it is to not become part of it and then learn what you don't know about how to apply these things in real life. You don't need to have electricity nowadays. You can generate your own. There's a lot of different ways to generate your own electricity. It won't be a one for one typically with the power company. Like you won't be able to rent a welder or something like that. But the point being is that there are so many avenues of independence from this system. It requires work and it requires caring enough. But if you choose to not do that, that's the system is for you. But you can do both. You can do both. You can use the system to insulate yourself away from it. And with any luck, you get far enough that maybe your kids will be able to build off of that and they don't have to depend on it. So that's kind of what I was trying to get at is that we've been going for almost an hour and a half. Hold on, let me see. Third gen. Well, man, are you? Oh, yeah, you'd assume that the water table is probably almost everywhere in Florida. Uh, but that's still, I mean, that's not a bad thing. I didn't know you were into wells, dude. I might have to get you to come up here for a visit, make it worth your while. Um, anyway, the like where we are, I'm in Pennsylvania and it's mountains, right? So it can be hit or miss in some spots. Um, but there is still a lot of water down there. You know, I I've had guys that they bought land. They were almost certain they were building a house, and they decided to look for a well because it when you're in the middle of nowhere to get tap water out to you, it's damn near impossible. And well water is just better. Again, this remove well water requires separating yourself from the system and being responsible for your own maintenance, your own well being, understanding how the system works, knowing what's going to happen if you don't pay attention, change the filters, test it frequently just to see what's going on with it. Like there's different facets, but it's not impossible, it just requires the want. Do you want to remove yourself from the system at all on some level? Because you don't, dude, I'm not. I mean, I'm in my house with the lights on right now. I'm using tech. I got Starlink. Um, but we can all try to do a little bit at a time to kind of separate ourselves from this, because if you look at the system is inevitably going to implode, and I think that part's on purpose, because with so many people dependent on the system and no other means of doing anything else other than depending on the system, that when it implodes, they'll have hundreds of millions of people come running and ask for help. Help me, right? And what do those people get? They'll get help. You'll eat the bugs, you'll live in the pods, and you'll do what you're told because you can't survive without it. So it's why I'm constantly trying to preach. And I know it sounds like preaching, and I know for some people it falls on deaf ears. They don't want to hear it. They can't imagine anything that I'm saying, and it doesn't register. Um, it doesn't matter where you start or how far you get, in my opinion. It's just that you're trying to get away from it. And there is some real pleasure in understanding nature, understanding how things around you actually are. I mean, some people notice and some people don't, but like people go around and kill dandelions, and they're some of the most medicinal, and they grow everywhere. And you can use them for so much. You can make wine out of them. There's so many different things that we're unaware of that you don't have to go to the store to cure, right? And just think about the illnesses that we have, right? Stuff that, even the store, like a box of something, might not cure. Where are they coming from? Where are these illnesses coming from? I would have to say that maybe all of the things, that the poison in the food, right? The vaccines that they force on people. When you start combining all these things, the the air, right? What are they spraying? Like, I mean, I know it might sound like crazy talk, but I mean, like you can tell the difference between a cloud, a a trail, and then a contrail, because like contrails come off of the planes from going, but they don't leave giant trails across the sky. These are something else. What is it? What's it doing to people? Um, even electricity, for example, the EMF that comes off of everything. You think that's good for us all the time? Like our bodies are constantly being bombarded by electromagnetic waves that, if you understand, yours wire ran all around your house, and EMF comes off of that wire. And the higher the voltage, the higher the EMF. And then you got to factor in, now there's Wi-Fi, and now there's cellular signal, right? So like the system is, in my opinion, on some level, creating some of these problems and selling you solutions when the answer is never going to be there. It's going to be to separate yourself from it. And sometimes in a lifetime, that's not doable, but we can do something. You know what I mean? Drew, can you hear me yet? I'm guessing Drew can't hear me. Um, 1957. That's amazing. I did not know that, dude. That's pretty cool, man. Generational wealth right there. That's a great example of generational wealth, Q. Um, Kane, what's up, buddy? I'm getting ready to wrap it up in a minute. Somehow Drew lost audio from me, and I'm sure he's just sitting there staring and wondering what I'm saying. And it's we're coming up on an hour and a half anyway. But I didn't even know for sure what we were going to talk about tonight. I knew that Drew had some stuff that he had wanted to talk about, and we touched on it for a minute. But ultimately, what it comes down to is recognizing that there is a system in place and that you don't have to participate in it. What does that mean, Q? I can't find this on Rumble app. No. Jules told me one time when we were just after the show, said that it wouldn't come up when he put it in either, which I don't understand. Am I shadow banned already? But I put a link on my X page, and I put a link in the Dangerous Retards chat. Really? Rumble.com. Hmm. Um, if you search the name and it doesn't come up, that's problematic, but I don't know what I can. Matter of fact, for my Rumble page, I didn't do this yet, but I will. I will put a link to my Rumble page on my X page at the top. I have a YouTube link pinned at the top, and I'll put the link for this channel in the comments of the YouTube link. That way, it's still sitting at the top. Anyway, I hope everybody has a happy Thanksgiving. Uh, remember what you're blessed to have and be thankful for it. Don't envy others for what they have, because you never know what else they have besides what they're showing. Don't try to keep up with the Joneses. Um, Connect with nature, man. When you're eating that turkey, think about where it was before it got to your plate. You guys have a good day.